Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our masterclass for 2025. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this year we are going to be dealing with a very interesting theme, right? Dealing with the challenges of doing business in Africa. And our masterclass for today, which is talking about bold resilience, developing the right mindset to deal with this challenge. We have two incredible sponsors for it. And first sponsor we have is MSME Africa. MSME Africa is where you want to go for news, opportunities, and resources for micro, small, or medium enterprises or startups or entrepreneurs. This is where you should go. I'll say that again. If you need to get news, opportunities, and resources, you need to meet with our partner, MSME Africa. Apologize for that. And then our second partner today is Moments of Pause, right? This is an organization that blends wellness with strategy. It's an initiative that creates a safe place for you to be able to transform your mind, renew your mind, and reflect well. So these are the sponsors we have for our class today. I want to say a very, 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 very big thank you. So before we introduce our speakers, we have culture, the Association of African Studies. We start everything with a word of prayer. So please join me for a short prayer. Our Father and our God, we thank you. Ancient of days, we worship you. I am that I am, we give you glory. Lord, we ask that you take control of this meeting. We ask, Heavenly Father, that you speak through the speakers. We ask, Heavenly Father, that everyone that partakes of this gets something tangible, Lord, and their mindset as regards Africa changes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I must warn you, we are having a stakeholder engagement, and so we are going to have it's going to be like a panel session, questions and answers, right? So if you also have questions, you could always drop it, and then we could always ask our guest speakers. But before I introduce them, I want to introduce our president and founder. This is just Omomo Ibe to just give us the charge for the year. Ma, please, you are welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you, Abiola. You look very dashing, by the way. I mean, I can't get my face off the screen. And pardon my... I saw our delectable panelist as well, Yumna, who is looking extremely delectable. And of course, Mr. Seye, a man I love and respect so dearly. Thank you so very much for doing what you are doing with us today. The Association of African Startups, by the grace of God, this year will be turning 5, and it's been 5 deep years of really digging into the foundations of the things that have kept or held African entrepreneurs where we currently are. We believe that at the backbone of the continent of Africa are men and women innovators who have within them all it takes to emancipate Africa, and most importantly, position it as the prosperity destination of the world. Howbeit, there's a lot of things designed to keep us where we are at. If you're familiar with some of the stories in the Holy Book, you remember what happened with the Israelites in Egypt, how that for almost 400 years they were in slavery. What happened in those 400 years is not just the physical torture, it was the mental, if I was to use the word, the mental disenfranchisement of these people. Every time a person wants to destroy your potential, all they need to do is attack you at the mind level. If they attack you at the mind level, they can destroy your potential for the longest time until you awake and take back the power of your mind. Then you can burst forth in the number of results and innovation you can create. We have seen that Africa has, begun to truly bounce back into what we may call the future of the world, or what you may call the next frontier. Howbeit, there's so much more locked up within the potentials of our African entrepreneurs, and that is at the center point of this stakeholder engagement. We want to be able to gather people who will share with us what they think the critical challenges are with doing business in Africa. Not that we're not aware, but the idea is not just awareness, it's digging deep into the cause of these problems and what suggestive solutions can be brought to the table. Because here at TAS, we want to serve as the bridge between the entrepreneurs and the stakeholders. The stakeholders in this case can be the government, it can be private entities, and it can even be change agents, as the case may be. But in any area where these people are, our job with this masterclass, at least for this month, is to be able to hand you the tools and the strategies you need to continually stay rock solid, irrespective of the economic climate, political climate, social climate in the world or in the continent that we're currently in. It's no longer news that Africa is the largest market in the world. I know we have competitors like China and India. China is not necessarily, if I was to use the word, they are also coming to Africa to compete for the share of our wallet. It's because Africa has 60% of young population in the world. It means that for the longest number of years, in the next 100, 200 years, we'll still keep having a market that is largest in the world. What this means is that Africans must rise up to the challenge and strengthen their ability to do big business. And that would mean we have to break all the shackles that hold us bound mentally. We have to push through with bold resilience to the challenges that we're facing economically, politically, socially, and be able to build the businesses that we have in our hand. I believe there are unicorns in Africa today. I believe there are blue chip companies in Africa today. I believe there are radical, innovative solutions that have the capacity to change the world at its highest level here in Africa. But the Africans who are carriers or stewards of these innovative solutions and businesses are the ones we need to pour all our energy into, so that if we can build them, if we can transform them, if we can awaken them to the giant that they are, then we can build formidably and continually position Africa as the prosperity destination of the world. Your business matter. You matter. More importantly, I want you to pay attention to the deep things that will be shared in this class, because it will help you go back to the drawing table as an entrepreneur and attempt to identify the different areas of your life that are attempting to hold you back, so that you can fix them this year, because within the rest of the decade, you have so much time to fly. Africa is rooting for you. The Association of African Startups, we are rooting for you. I am rooting for you. And I know that with this partnership, we can achieve the Africa that we desire through the lens of the business you currently run. Thank you, everyone. Once again, welcome to our 2025 curriculum at the Association of African Startups Masterclass Series. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that very short but engaging charge. I'm going to quickly read our bio. So what we are doing this year is that we are trying to bring speakers from different regions. That's like the 5 regions, so that you can have like a holistic understanding of these things. And then, so covering the Western region is Mr. Seye Olurotimi. He's a passionate African entrepreneur, business coach, and mentor, versatile learning facilitator, consultant, and social entrepreneur. A multiple award winner, he's also the founder of MSME Africa, an enterprise support organization and social enterprise working at the intersection of capacity development, community building, and media. It's our pleasure to have you here today, sir, and he's going to be covering West Africa. Our other panelist, who is going to be covering the southern region, is Mrs. Yumna Tayob, right? She is a seasoned senior and executive leader who thrives on solving complex problems through collaborative and innovative strategies. Her career spans South Africa and international markets, where she has tackled diverse challenges with a passion for unlocking results. Known for her professional work ethic, can-do attitude, and boundless enthusiasm, Yumna is deeply committed to delivering quality, sustainable solutions that make a lasting positive impact. Adding value and driving meaningful change are at the heart of her purpose. Her formula for success is grounded in operational excellence, authentic leadership, trusted relationship, and continuous evolution. With 5 years in consulting as a data engineer and 17 years in financial services, 16 of which she served as a senior leader, she brings a wealth of experience and insight to every initiative. Her extensive career journey has encompassed disciplines such as learning and development, human capital, data engineering, sales and marketing, customer experience, physical infrastructure, vendor management, project management, and innovation. Her commitment to sustainable transformation and innovation has garnered multiple awards and opportunities to speak at prestigious events on both local and international stages. Yumna's expertise and inspiring leadership have solidified her reputation as a trailblazer in her field. In 2019, she founded Moments of Pause, a pioneering venture blending wellness with strategy. This initiative creates safe and transformative spaces for clients to recharge, reflect, and reimagine through coaching, workshops, and bespoke retreats. By quieting life's noise, Moments of Pause enables individuals to reconnect with their inner purpose and potential. On a personal level, she finds her greatest inspiration in her role as a mother to three remarkable children who are the pillars of her strength and motivation to continually strive for excellence. Being a positive role model for them defines her ultimate success. We are saying thank you so much for being part of us today and doing this with us today. So like we said, it's going to be a question and answer segment. So the first question we have, when we're doing our research, this was just looking at South Africa alone, we noticed that this data is from Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, that's GME. We noticed that business discontinuance has increased from 49% in 2019 to 13.9% in 2021. And this is just in South Africa alone. So we can say that people are going into entrepreneurship, but they are coming out of it. So this brought the question that what hinders sustained business growth in Africa, despite understanding its importance for economic development? Because from this data, we can say people understand that there needs to be entrepreneurship, but at a point, they are stopping it. So what would you say is the problem? Maybe we'll go with ladies first, right? So can ask Mrs. Yumna what she thinks about that.
Thank you, Abiola. Good afternoon, everybody. So, I mean, just looking at it, you've got a number of factors that can hinder business growth. And I think particularly in the Southern African region, as I'm sure across the continent as well, one of the key things is there's limited access to capital. Many startups, particularly in the beginning, struggle to secure funding. You know, you've got venture capitalists that would focus on certain tech hubs, particularly in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, but that leaves smaller markets that are then underserved. You also have high interest rates, and there's a lot of requirements to access credit from financial institutions. The next thing is then around infrastructure gaps. There's challenges around unreliable electricity, poor transportation networks, limited internet access across the continent, particularly outside of your sort of urban areas. You also find there's regulatory complexity. It becomes a bit bureaucratic red tape, which makes it so difficult for startups to actually legitimize and formalize their operations. And also within the region itself, as much as we've got the Southern African development community, there's inconsistencies in business policies, which then hinders growth across the region and across the borders and access to markets, As much as we're moving into this digital space and this transformation space, there still is a significant digital divide. We've got mobile penetration is significant. I mean, there's so many innovations that have come out of this continent that's amazing, but yet you still access to affordable data, advanced technology. It's limited. So it also limited in terms of how you're able to scale these solutions. And unfortunately, from an economics instability, it leads to currency volatility. And a lot of it also stems from political instability. And unfortunately, this creates then a high risk environment for business, which then discourages local and foreign investment, which has direct impact on the economic situation of the country and the region as well. So, I think just sort of looking at it broadly, those would be some of the key levers that I would say hinders sustainable growth.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Seye, do you have anything to add or emphasize on that, sir?
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me clearly. Is my audio fine?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay. And I think I need to remind you, Bella, are you sure you're not meant to be recording this? Probably forgot or something.
It's recorded.
Okay, it's recording. Okay, cool. So, thank you. Thank you, Yumna, for those points. I will try not to repeat the things you've said because actually I think all across all the regions in Africa, our problems are quite almost the same. And one thing I want to really harp on is the fact that it's a lot difficult to move within Africa. If you really want to do trade amongst ourselves, you want to do businesses in Africa, we should be able to move within Africa without so much strain. So I've traveled a bit in Africa, and I know, for instance, if you're moving within West Africa alone, especially if you're using the land border, it is a whole lot of issues trying to cross from Nigeria to, let's say, to Benin Republic, from Benin Republic to Togo, from Togo to Ghana. If you do land border, you will see what they call Shege Promax in Nigeria. And then even if you're not doing land border, okay, so I have a trip planned for Tanzania next month, and I was checking the cost of flight. It would amaze you that the cost of flight from Nigeria to Tanzania is a lot more than the cost of flight from Nigeria to London. So if we really, really want to grow in Africa, we would ensure that it is easy to move around the borders of Africa so that we can do trade between ourselves. If not, people will keep looking at other locations for businesses. So that's probably one of the major things I need to talk about. Of course, inadequate infrastructure, Yumna talked about that. Corruption and poor governance. Corruption has eaten really deep into our fabrics, and it hinders a lot of businesses. We talk about limited access to finance, and of course, inadequate human capital. Africa has a very large population, but sadly, our population is not working to our advantage like it should be because of poor education system, shortage of skilled workers, limited training opportunities. So we have a large number of people who are not as skilled as they should be. Of course, we have insecurity within our borders, a lot of barriers when it comes to doing business with one another. And of course, I think I need to talk about what we call the Jackpot syndrome, right? Brain drain. A lot of people from Africa are moving to other places. So every Nigerian, an average Nigerian between ages, let's say 20 and 40, is thinking of either going to Canada, going to the UK, going to America. So it means that the brains that are meant to stay here and do businesses in Africa are thinking of relocating to other places. So until we're able to address all of these problems, keep having those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is very, very interesting. There are a lot of issues and a lot of challenges that would make an entrepreneur start a business, and halfway through, they're like, I'm not doing again, right? Or I don't think I want to continue. For example, this jackpot syndrome, there are lots of businesses that shut down, businesses that are actually thriving. They are shutting down simply because they want to relocate without thinking of, oh, how is this going to affect the economy? These are things that we also need to take note of. So our next question is, while we were also preparing for our 2025 curriculum, we noticed that in our research there are two kinds of mindset an entrepreneur can have when he wants to solve a particular issue. You can either see the obstacle as a problem, or you can see it as a challenge. It was very funny when it was brought up to us via research that, oh, okay, so there are ways that the mind can look at a problem. So our question is, how do we distinguish between problems and challenges? What mindset should we adopt for this to create value? And then if you can provide example, I know there are lots of three questions in one, so I'll just say, how would you distinguish between problems and challenges? How then do we address this to create value? And then please, if you could provide examples so that people will feel would understand the concept better. Let's start again with Mrs. Tayob. Yes, ma.
My apologies, Abiola. So I think that's very interesting. And if you look at distinguishing between problems and challenges, it's really around, the perspective that you look at obstacles, because essentially it's an obstacle or an issue. And, a problem has a bit of a negative sort of lens to it, or way of looking at it, or perspective, because it's really around what is wrong, what's broken, demanding a solution. It's a little more externalized, in terms of, in my mind, and then from a challenges on the other hand is a bit more positive, because it looks at an obstacle as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity for innovation. It's framing it as something, an obstacle that can be overcome. So by viewing obstacles as challenges, entrepreneurs can shift from a victim mindset to one of agency and action. How can I use my ingenuity, my resourcefulness, my creativity to overcome? And a proactive and growth mindset is, it can transform obstacles into opportunities, where even the most daunting issue or obstacle can lead to, value creation, innovation, long-term impact. And, if you look at from and I don't know, Chewe, if you want to sort of maybe add to, that distinction between problems and challenges before we go more into mindset, I don't know if you'd like to add a bit more to that.
Okay, thank you, Yumna. So, sometimes, I mean, a lot of time, both words are used interchangeably, and even sometimes it becomes a matter of semantics. Now, while you were speaking, I just tried to check now. So, I think basically, problem is generally considered a difficult situation, obstacle that needs to be solved, often with a negative connotation. So, when you hear problem, it's always it comes with a negative connotation. But when it comes to challenges, they present for you opportunities to grow and develop, even though they might not be pleasant, but there are situations that you have to go through. But when you come out of them, you can grow, you can get better. So that's why sometimes when you say I have a problem, you say no, don't see it as a problem. See it as a challenge, something you need to surmount so that I can move on to a higher level. So I think that's basically what I would say is the problem between both of them. One is often and one often comes with a negative connotation, which is a problem. But a challenge is necessary in life. A challenge is something that when you are able to overcome it, you become a better person.
Thank you. And Abiola, I mean, just in terms of then sort of the mindsets, your question to the mindsets. And I think a big part is, there's been this buzzword now around growth mindset, and it's really around, learning and being resilient to see opportunities for growth and invest in education and skills development, that you can, through learning, that you're able to, you're able to through effort and learning, you're able to overcome, and you're able to learn more, and a lot of this for me is also investing in your education skills development. So an example of this would be, you could have a tech entrepreneur has very limited access to skilled resources. There's not much talent around particular tech skills. And, a tech entrepreneur could then say, do I look at it as a problem, that this is a problem, hands up, or do I see it as an opportunity and a challenge where I could potentially upskill? And how do you look at training people to create more sustainable talent pipelines? I think also having a solutionist mindset, where you try and focus on solutions versus the limitations, and trying to put actions to that. So, for example, I mean, if you look at in Kenya, there's been M-Pesa. It's a mobile payment solution that is meant to address, the banking infrastructure issues that are limiting there. And it's leveraging technology, This whole talk is around resilience and adaptability, and really around seeing it as opportunities for growth and not seeing it as when something stops or something happens, looking at opportunities, how can I learn more? And, I mean, in South Africa, we've been having lots of power outages, I mean, we've got load shedding, and a lot of entrepreneurs took it as an opportunity to say, how do I look at renewable and solar power? And how do I look at getting off the grid? And how do I offer this as a service? Because, there's the entire country struggling with this. So I think there's a lot. And lastly, for me, Ubuntu, in terms of Africa, it's part of our DNA, collaboration and building of networks, coming together to really farm in collective wisdom, but also leveraging from a resource opportunity perspective. And how do we, look at strengthening partnerships, community-driven solutions? You've got different organizations like Startup Africa, that look at connecting entrepreneurs. You've got, the Association of African Startups. So there's lots of resources, there's lots of business associations. How do you tap into these networks? Because, you want to go far. The proverb says, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. So, that power of Ubuntu and really coming together, I think, is also significant around how do we leverage off support networks.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Seye, do you have anything you want to add to that, sir?
Yeah, let me just add briefly to that. I think Yumna has done a good job with that question, but I just want to talk about the kind of mindset that we could adopt when facing challenge. I think for every business person, you should have a solution mindset. Mindset that tells you that I'm not going to focus on the obstacles. I'm going to focus on finding solution to whatever the issues are. So solution mindset is very, very important for entrepreneurs and business owners. And of course, something related to that is the can-do spirit, something that tells you that I can do this thing, I can make it happen, I can solve the problem. And of course, does that mean that every solution is in your hand? No. And that's why the collaboration spirit also comes in. Collaboration mindset, telling yourself that even though the solution to this problem might be outside of my own capabilities, I've learned to develop meaningful relationship and partnerships through which we can solve these problems together. Sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You have a challenge, but there's somebody who is already solving that problem. Why do you want to create your own platform for solving it, right? Just like what we're doing today. So TAS is good at something, MSM Africa is good at something. Why can't we collaborate like we're doing? For some people, it's a lot of challenge. Everybody wants to solve a particular problem by reinventing the wheel and creating their own solution. And that a lot of time does not work. So solution mindset, collaborative mindset, and can-do spirit. Those are the mindset that we should have. And when it comes to some examples, so I could really think of Andela, for instance. I'm sure we know Andela. Andela saw a problem with the fact that we have tech talent that we are developing for Africa, but we need to make them available to be able to work globally. And so some young guys created Andela, which is a platform for tech talents to come together in one place, and they can attract opportunities globally. It's solving problem for the tech talents, also solving problem for the organization who need people to work with them, not necessarily coming to a brick and mortar office. So that's a solution. Some other person will have said, hey, we have tech talents. Now, there is no way for them to work with companies abroad, but somebody created that solution. Look at Flutterwave, Paystack. Before Paystack and Flutterwave came, it was a lot of headache trying to settle payment between one country and another. You would have to, sometimes it takes days for you to make those things happen. But this guy says we need to solve this problem. How do we do it? They created the platforms, and of course, they make money from it. And that's how it works. See a problem, identify the solution. And when you do that, you make money, you make profit, and everybody heals you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. If you don't take anything from what our faculty members have said, is that you need to see every obstacle as a challenge, not a problem. The very first thing is, what is wrong with you? And the next thing is, this problem is too big for me. It's affecting your mindset and you'll not be able to surmount it, like they have rightly said. Because if you don't see it as a challenge, have um, a positive mindset with it, there's going to be a lot of issues with overcoming it. And as an entrepreneur, this is the gold mine. This is where you can um create something, like he has used as Mr. Seye has used Andela and Paystack and all those other examples he used. This is where you can have business opportunities. But because you are looking at everything as a problem, you are just blaming. It's one of the reasons why some of us are still poor. So if you want to if you want to get a resilient mindset, we need to change our attitude to problems, to obstacles rather, not people problems. We need to change our dictionary, right? We need to look at things that would help us look at things in a positive light. Thank you so much for explaining that. So our next question is, what unique characteristics define your region's business landscape, and how can entrepreneurs leverage these advantages, right? Let us start with Mr. Seye. What unique characteristics would you say defines the Western region, and how can entrepreneurs leverage this to their advantage?
So thank you so much. I mean, I'm always excited to talk about West Africa. Africa is a blessed region, right? Just like the founder of TAS was saying earlier, we have a large population. I mean, that's common to most of Africa. West Africa has a very large population. 60% of the youth population all over the world are in Africa. But interesting enough that what has happened to Africa is that we have a large population, we have a large market, but we have not seen a reason for us to ensure that that large market will take advantage of it. So what happens is that the other continents have identified the markets in Africa, and they have always coming to, if I can use the word, feast on that market. So they have developed their expertise to be able to provide what our market needs, or sometimes the things that we don't need, but they sell to us as the things that we would need, because they make those things very aspirational. So I think that if I don't go to Paris or go to Bahamas to have my holiday, I've not achieved anything. That has been sold to me. Or if I don't use that champagne that comes from whichever country in Europe, I've not made it. So that's one characteristic of Africa, West Africa, or probably Africa as a whole. We have not been able to generate enough within ourselves to satisfy the huge market that we have, despite our large population. I think another thing about the West African market is the fact that we have a very vibrant informal sector. So let me use Nigeria as an example. As of today, according to the statistics from SMIDAN and National Bureau of Statistics, we have about 39.6 million MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. But it will be very interesting for you to know that out of the 39.6, about 38 million of them are micro enterprises, largely in the informal sector. So they are the welders, the fish seller at the corner of the market, the people who are not documented, so to say. So West Africa has a very large informal sector. And what that means is that whatever solution we are devising, whatever initiative we are creating, not target people who are highly formal when it comes to the kind of business they run. So large informal sector. I think we also have we have abundance of natural resources in West Africa. And sometimes that is a plus, sometimes it's a minus. Sometimes it becomes a minus because we pay so much attention to those natural resources that we are not doing some other things to benefit ourselves. So sometimes people say that the oil that we have in Nigeria and some other African countries, they are a cost to us because now we have become a mono product economy. But apart from oil, we have a lot of natural resources. So that's another characteristic of the region. We have a growing population. Africa is growing at a crazy, crazy rate. We have a growing tech ecosystem. Everybody knows that the tech ecosystem is growing rapidly.
I don't forget to do budget too.
In Nigeria, in Accra,
in
other nations in West Africa, the tech ecosystem is growing rapidly. And then what again can I say is like so I think I should just wrap it up with that. Very vibrant informal sector, abundance of natural resources, a growing tech ecosystem, and of course, a growing population. Those are the characteristics of West Africa. And those are things that if we really pay attention to them, we can harness them very well for our own advantage.
Thank you so much, sir. Ma, what would you say is one of the things that you can leverage on the southern region?
So I'd just like to maybe just expand on the point that my fellow panelists made around, we're really blessed around being such a rich natural resource and having such abundant resources. I mean, from minerals to agriculture, to energy, but we do ourselves a disservice, I think, to the point around how do we leverage these resources for more value added? Why do we just export it in its raw form and then buy it back at a premium, once it's been valued? There's such a big opportunity around how do we leverage these across, from an industry, how do we refine our minerals locally? How do we produce the agricultural products for export better? So I think I was chatting to someone and what they said is, I think Africa is one of the only continents where if we are completely isolated, we would be able to sustain ourselves, which is powerful. I mean, it's like we've got everything we need. Just looking at the region, I mean, if you look at Southern Africa, we've got world-renowned tourist destinations. Victoria Falls, the Kruger National Park, Cape Town. So there's such an opportunity for both businesses in ecotourism, tourism, cultural tourism, sustainable travel solutions. My panelists have spoken about the emerging digital economy, and that changes the way businesses are operating. How do you provide that as a service to businesses as well, and position yourself? And a big thing is around access to renewable energy. I mean, just look at us. Our high solar. I'm sitting here with my fan on because it's quite hot. Because we have such high solar potential. And this opportunity from a green energy and renewable energy. How do we take advantage of what's there in front of us, and make it available to others? Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love that. You see, most times we say we are serving a particular region and we don't take our time to seriously understand what that region has to offer and use it to our advantage. Like Mr. Seye said, most people when they say they are serving or providing service for the Western region, they always target the formal sector. Nobody's looking at the informal sector, and you have more market there. And other foreigners that are coming in are targeting the informal sector, and you're wondering why they are doing better than you. That's the reason why. Or you want to have destination once by God's grace the affected starts working properly, and then we talk about the infrastructure and the transportation and logistics. Having destination like you are a social enterprise, probably maybe in the hospitality sector, having destinations for this in the southern region, it's okay. You don't have to travel all out first and then put more money in other economy and not help our own economy. So sometimes we do not take enough time to really seriously understand the region we are serving. And then when another person does that and enters the market, we are like, oh my God, this person has just come to take over. It's not like the person is just coming to take over. You did not do your proper research. And if we continue this way, we will not have businesses like that. We will not have running and sustainable businesses like that, because everybody might just be shutting down. So it's very, very important that you take time to understand the region you want to serve and serve them well. Thank you so much once again. I hope we are really getting something from this session, because I'm seriously having fun and being exposed to our faculty members' expertise. Thank you so much. So another thing again we have noticed is that most business owners like to be lone rangers, right? Or they always fault one particular stakeholder, and this is now the government. And they have little to no or understanding of stakeholder engagement. Now, what our question here is, what perceptions do business owners have regarding stakeholder engagement, especially the government? Most times the government is painted as the bad guy when it comes to challenges with doing business. They're the bad guy. But the truth is, they have the greatest say when it comes to solving some of these things. And because our mindset with them is not as it should be, there's an impact on our economic development. So what do you have to say about this? And then how can we change this perception? Let's start with I don't know what to start with at this time, but okay, let's go with the Seye. What would you say about this?
So stakeholder engagement, it's something that is very critical for everyone who is doing business. even if you're not doing it. And of course, with government, it's something that is quite important. If you really, really want to move the needles, you want to do big stuff, managing engagement with government, if your business entails it, is very important. So what are the perceptions when it comes to stakeholder engagement in Africa or in West Africa or in Nigeria? I will start with a story. Okay, so I know someone who is quite close to me. So this is something that I know happens. She works with an organization that provides intervention in education to states, different state government. And you know how they engage the government. They need, for every state that they go into, they need to employ, I'm using that word loosely now, they need to engage someone. So there are consultants that they engage. What their job is to secure appointment for them with government officials. And apart from that, when they do business with government, those guys are the ones who help to chase their payment. If those guys don't chase their payment, they will never be paid. So how kind of that already tells you that to engage government in this climb, it involves a lot of backhanding, and those consultants are not doing it for free. So you need to get somebody who's probably a relative to the governor or a relative to the commissioner of education that will help you secure appointment with them. That will also help ensure that when they owe you, that they pay. And this person is placed on a retainer. And that's what they do. And I'm like, why does this have to happen? So that's the nature of stakeholder engagement in Nigeria, in Africa. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tapeism, and there's something that suggests to you that if you want to do it the proper, documented way, you wait till the end of the world. So they have created some bottlenecks that help to make it difficult for you to want to go about things the proper way. So stakeholder engagement is very tedious and very, 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 very difficult if you don't have insiders doing things for you. And I don't think that is how things should be. I should be able to engage government if I have some things that I'm doing with them, and I'll be sure that I'm going to get response on time, and I won't have to go through some people and won't have to grease their palms for things to be done. And another kind of perception that we have also when it comes to engaging government, that perception of corruption and favoritism, and of course nepotism. A lot of people believe that when you engage the government, when you do stuff with them, it comes almost all of the time with corruption and favoritism. You need to know somebody that knows somebody, or you might not. The person that gets the job or the person that gets the deal is not necessarily the person who is the best at what they do, but somebody that is close to someone, or but somebody that belongs to the same political party, somebody that is politically exposed. And so all of these things are creating some negative clouds around engaging the government in our climb. And I think those are things that should be critically addressed when it comes to stakeholder engagement, especially with government bodies. With other stakeholders within the spaces where we operate, I think things are still manageable. But when it comes to government, I particularly think that there is a lot of things that we need to do better. Government needs to throw their door open. They need to create the confidence in people that they can always have access to them. They have something meaningful to engage them on without necessarily having to go through third or 10th or fifth parties to make things happen. So I think that's a perception when it comes to engaging stakeholders in Africa, especially government. There has to be somebody who is going to open the door for you or stand in between and then help you to secure appointment, able to get things done. And it can actually create a lot of headache for some people. So it needs to be addressed really.
Thank you so much, sir. Ma, what do you have to say about the perception before we look at how we can change this perception? Because we have to engage with them if we say we really want to change Africa.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to the first question that was posed around, what is hindering, sustainable growth across the continent? A lot of it solutions can be found in co-creation solutions with government, because, you need that systemic support and they able to influence the type of changes and solutions that are needed. And I mean, very much to the point. So, in prep for this masterclass, I decided, let me get some perspectives from various entrepreneurs as opposed to just coming, with some of my experience and knowledge. And I was blessed that, I had about 13 entrepreneurs that were willing to engage with me over the festive season. And very much to the point of what Chia is saying, there's this distrust, from a inefficiency, bureaucracy, corruption perspective. There's this perception of overregulation. And for me, that also stems a lot to, why the informal sector is just so big, because, just formalizing your operations it's just become such a mission that small businesses, is it worth the effort? But whilst that is good in terms of ingenuity and resourcefulness, it also limits growth potential. There's a sense of that the entrepreneurs had that, that government is not responsive to their needs, to the private sector, especially entrepreneurs. And so their voices are not heard in policy making processes. There's unfair practices, and unfortunately, what this does is it then makes it difficult to implement things that could benefit entrepreneurs. Things like public-private partnerships, things like how do you co-create solutions for challenges like the infrastructure, for challenges like skills development, for challenges like trade barriers. How does this become a mutually beneficial partnership? And I think my sentiment is very much the same. And from what I'm hearing from the feedback that I've received as well, is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Around it, but definitely shying away and trying to not engage. I mean, one of the entrepreneurs responded like, I don't deal with government. Like I step, it was like emphatically, no, and you could hear and you can feel the frustration. But in order for us to get to where we want to be, there's some pain that needs to be undertaken now that we need to address in order to get that piece right, because it's such an important influencing factor to really open up opportunities from an economic perspective.
So how then can we change this perspective? Since we are not we don't want to look at it as a problem, we want to look at it as a challenge. How then do we change this perspective with dealing with the government? Ma, do you want to shed more light on that before we go to Mr.
So,
Seye?
I mean,
Seye rather, sorry. No, I said, would you want to shed more light on how we can change the narrative, the perspective on dealing with the government?
Yeah. Sorry, should I go, Viola, or?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I thought I lost network for a minute. So I think, we've got the Association of African Startups. You've got good business associations. You've got advocacy groups to try and partner with in order to push for more transparent governance and fair practices. Are there industry bodies in your area, in your country? Are there chambers of commerce who can act as intermediaries, to engage with governments? Because they often have a stronger voice, How do you look for opportunities to proactively partner with government? How do you find out about public-private partnerships? How do you look at leveraging technology? Technology, a lot is now put onto governmental and municipality and local government platforms. How do you tap into this? In order to track what's going on so that you can have your say around policy development. And I think the point that Chair and myself made earlier also is that when going into it, looking at it from a solutionist mindset, a solution-oriented approach, as in how can we work together collaboratively, because we all have a vested interest to get this right, as opposed to just focusing on these are my grievances, these are my problems, why are you not solving it? How do you come forward and say, this is what's happening from a trade agreement. This is some of the things that are hindering trade between our regions. How could we potentially, this is an example of how we could solve it. So yeah, I think those would be really partnerships, the type of mindset and how to go forward, leveraging of technology, and being quite proactive about opportunities to partner.
Safi, do you have anything you want to say to that?
Yeah, I'll quickly just probably reiterate what you just mentioned with regards to, we are talking about how can we change our perception. So I said earlier that we should have solution mindset, which she also just mentioned. So when we when we meet those challenges now, so we're deliberate, we're not calling them problems, we're calling them challenges, knowing that the idea behind challenges is for us to overcome them and then step onto higher pedestals, right? So when I overcome, when I encounter problems with stakeholder engagement, I need to tell myself, why is this problem there? Or why is this challenge there? What do I need to do? If I overcome this challenge, what happens? What happens to my business? And then I also don't need to be selfish. What happens to the business landscape in Africa or in my region? So when we have those kind of mindset, it becomes a lot easier for us to want to tackle. And I think one of the things we can do is also to get involved in policy formation. A lot of time we don't get involved in those things. And of course, you don't do it as an individual. That's why pressure groups coming together like the Association of African Startups, MSM Africa Community. So when we come together as a body, governments seems to have a responsibility to call us when they are forming policy that has to do with our sector. But a lot of time, everybody wants to show up as an individual. You can't put so much weight. So let's come together as pressure groups, as associations, as business management organizations, as innovation support organizations, and now get involved in policy formation. And apart from policy formation, let's also push to ensure that when it comes to implementation, we also have a seat in the room so that we can help in those critical areas. Every one of us do not get involved in politics. We can't all do it, and sometimes policies get a lot dirty and difficult. But policy formation is something we should all target. Let's get involved. Let's put our ears to the ground. When they are calling, when you find out that government is trying to form a policy in a particular area. I remember the case of the startup bill in Nigeria. I remember how some of us actually got so involved that they could not ignore us and they had to call you and say, I mean, at some time they had to fly some people from all over Nigeria to Abuja to be part of the engagement. And there is a continuous engagement. All of us are involved in it. So we need to always push for things like this so that they don't take those decisions behind us.
Thank you so much. It's very, very important that to collaborate with government, we need to come as one, not trying to be a lone ranger. Let me use that word. Trying to think that you can tackle them on your own. Government deals a lot with numbers because they will feel that, oh, if it's pinning a particular sector that is going to impact the economy, I want to do something about it. So this is why you should not take business communities for granted this year. If you seriously want to be part of rebuilding Africa or boosting our economy, we have organizations like MSME Africa, we have TAS, there are so many. Look for the one that resonates with you, that shares the same value with you and be part of it. Because if you are unable, it's not just even being part of it, you have to be one that you're not just docile in the group, you are an advocate, people get to know you, you get to contribute, or like, okay, oh, we need somebody in this particular sector, oh, we have a member that is like this, or we have specific members that are like this. If you are not vocal in those groups, it's not just being part of those groups. If you're not vocal in those groups, people would not know the issue, people would not know the problems you're facing. With government, we need to come as one. You cannot do it alone. And then we need to have a collaborative mindset. And most importantly, patience. We have to be very patient with them, right? We will get there. We will get there. We have to be very patient. So before we continue, once again, I'm going to thank our sponsors. That's MSME Africa. If you need news on what is going on in Africa, you need opportunities, you need resources, and this you need to visit them, right? You can go on their social media pages, you can go on their website and be a part of it, especially when you need news, opportunities. If you really want to know what is happening around the world, like happening around Africa, you need to be with MSME Africa. And then also for Pulse, Moment of Pause, she actually gave us an initiative, right, which I would just want to talk about briefly. So as we all know, it's an avenue that teaches you how to blend wellness with strategy, helping you to create a safe space for you to think, rethink, and re-strategize, right? So she's offering a free coaching bundle. And this free coaching bundle has 5 sessions, right? To help you with this, to help you re-strategize, to help you understand what you're doing as far as entrepreneurship, personal life, business life is all about. But all you have to do is write a 200 to 250 write-up as why you want the coaching. This is where you have to be very persuasive. This is where you have to come up with your pitch deck and convince us as why you need it, because we are only picking one person, right? So this is what we are going to do. You would write it to info@TaskAfrica. We will filter it. If it's not convincing enough, we will not forward it to her. So we're going to help her filter and then send to her, and then she'll be able to pick out of it. I want to say a very, very big thank you once again for doing this and then saying, oh, I want to contribute, I want to do this. And these are some of the things that you get when you're part of a community, right? Thank you so much. So our next question is, what stakeholder initiative or programs exist in your region to promote collective problem solving, and how successful have they been? Okay, let's start with Mr. Seye.
Okay, thank you. So I will start with one that is Pan-African, and that one that is very, very visible or very much talk about is after that Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is meant to enable African countries to trade among themselves. And that's a laudable initiative, but I'm not sure it's achieving as much as it should. But I'm very optimistic that if it is well implemented and everybody does what they are meant to do, it's something that Africa will benefit seriously from. And one of the things that AFTA is meant to do, for instance, in West Africa, there is clamor for a uniform currency, just like we have in Europe, where you have euro for about 27 Schengen countries thereabout. So ECHO is the currency that has been proposed for some time. I'm hoping and praying that we're able to adopt that. What it means is that if I go to Ghana, I'm not thinking of changing my currency. It means that I can give a quote to I mean, if I have a product to sell to somebody in Burkina Faso, I can tell them this thing costs 3,000 echo. And they are not thinking, how do I convert it to Naira or whatever. I think that's one initiative that I think has a lot of potential to be a game changer in Africa. And I'm hoping and praying that we're able to follow it through. And only a few countries have actually signed the agreement. That's something very funny. A lot of those countries are still holding on to, I mean, with regards to signing the agreement and ensuring that this happens. There are a couple of other initiatives within West Africa, even though they are not so popular, which also means that they are probably not um, as effective as they should be. I know there is the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and that is meant to ensure transparency in the oil, gas, and mining sector in West Africa. I know, for instance, that Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia have signed the agreement that they're implementing it, but we need more countries in West Africa to come on board. So I could talk about those two initiatives, but you will know that something that is common to both of them is that that unity purpose, that collective agreement will all come on board is not there yet. So if I get a Schengen visa today, either from France, from Italy, from any of those countries, I can enter all the 27 Schengen countries. Can we do that in Africa? I can trust that if Nigeria gives you a visa, then you can enter Ghana, you can enter Cote d'Ivoire. Can we do that? Because that's one initiative I really want to see in my own lifetime. I want people to be able to do trade across Africa without any form of border. Because until we do that, we are really just paying lip service to Africa integration and business prosperity for Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mom, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I mean, in the Southern African region, we have the Southern African Development Community, or SADC, and they're really trying to promote, regional integration, collective problem solving, particularly around trade, infrastructure, industrial development. And I think, similar to what my panelist is saying, some successes and challenges as well. Though the implementation of the SEDAC sort of free trade area, is a win in terms of, reduced tariffs in order to try and boost cross-border sort of commerce. There's the Grow Africa initiative, particularly from a agricultural value chain perspective. And, the last that I read up on it, they mobilized just over about $10 billion US in the private sector for investments across the continent, I think I mentioned earlier, there's a number of public-private partnerships that you can tap into, but, I draw back to my engagements that I had with, this group of entrepreneurs that were willing to engage with me. And what was coming across quite clearly is that a lot of them tap into like business networks and associations, they aren't really aware of many sort of initiatives or public-private sort of opportunities. And where they are aware, access is, they have difficulty in terms of how do I access this? So I think, there are some challenges in terms of limited awareness and access. I think there's a lot out there, but how do you access it? How do you become aware of it? What do you need to do? Another initiative is sort of within South Africa. You've got Business Unity South Africa, sorry, or they call them BUSA. And Abiola, this touches on, a question earlier where you were talking and you were responding around this unified voice. And what they try and do is they partner with government to address policy and regulatory issues, and they've had some great successes in terms of streamlining tax regulations, things that benefit, policies that benefit small businesses. So I think that I just wanted to add that in terms of, reinforcing what you said around the partnerships with certain associations in order to have that unified voice, because in order to really see significant change. And I suppose what came to mind, as I was talking around this sort of and unpacking this limited awareness and access, was to say, okay, so if there is that a problem or is that a challenge, and the challenge, is then how do you engage with accessible networks like the Association of African Startup, like, and I'm going to get it wrong, Chair, so it's like SME, MCS, like how do you engage? How do you engage with local chambers of commerce, business networks? How do you use platforms like BizPortal, like private incubators, to look at opportunities? And how do you proactively take the initiative to participate in events? Like today, how do you go to training? How do you find collaborative projects so that you can expand your network? And then, sort of leverage off the collective wisdom we spoke about and resources as well. So I definitely think there are opportunities that we can partake in.
Thank you so much, Ma. Like, there are initiatives. It's just about searching. The thing is that it's either they are not well known or we have not yet felt their impact. Like, we're not looking at anything as a problem, right? We're looking at it as a challenge. So what do we do about it? We're going to look at how to assess them more. And again, you can level on business communities. Like you see, MSME Africa would always post opportunities on their website on how to engage opportunities like this. So you could always go there. I think there is opportunity decks too. Now I'm able to mention these things again because I work with a business community, so I know most of these things. That's why I say you have to be in places like this to be able to understand where you can access things like this. There is opportunity deck. There's MSME Africa that will give you opportunities like this. TASIS there. You just have to be connected to these business communities to know how to be able to get connected to things like this. Thank you so much. Our final question, please, if you have questions, please start keeping them, right? Because you have the opportunity to ask our panelists. Our last question is, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs navigating Africa's dynamic business environment? Let's start with Mrs. Yumna. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs navigating Africa's dynamic business environment?
Okay, so I would say 3 key things. The first one is when you unpacking and strategizing around your why, your what, and your how, to be very clear around your why and your what, because it becomes difficult. It's not, your why is going to help you in terms of anchoring you to the sacrifices you need to make. How much are you willing to work for it? How hard? What are you willing to do? Because it's not going to be easy. That why is going to hold you and ground you. Your clarity around your what, because that's your vision, and what you're wanting to achieve also serves as that anchor, because it serves as that point, because things are going to change. You know, you need to be fluid in your how, you need to be agile in your how to get there. But that vision and that outcome of what you're hoping to drive, to have that also, so that being clear around your why and your what. And then in terms of your how, being deliberate, conscious, and agile. And being deliberate on how do you focus on solving local problems? How do you leverage technology? How do you build strong networks? How do you prioritize continuous learning? How do you use all of these in order to navigate obstacles and build a thriving business? Then the second thing is believe. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you are bringing to the table. Believe, you know, because that holds you through when there's times when you think that you made the wrong decision. And lastly, this is from a good friend of mine. Her advice is just start, go for it, you know, start and get going.
Thank you so much, Ma. Mr. Seye, is there anything you want to add to it, sir?
Okay, I don't even know what to say again. It's like she already read my mind. So, but I would say, first of all, if you're doing a business in Africa, I need to say a big well done to you. The landscape is not the most encouraging. So I think that's what I want to start with. I want to commend everyone who's doing business in Africa because they had a lot to grapple with. And so I would say keep your heads up. Don't allow the obstacle to limit you. See obstacles as challenges. See them as stepping stones to greater and bigger things. I would also say that you need to have a mindset that says that this is just a necessary. A lot of time people get drowned. So it's been proven that I think in Africa, that out of every 5 businesses that start, only one survives the 50. A lot of times, some of them are close to actually making things happen and keeping on, but they throw in the towel too often. So I would say don't throw in the towel too quickly, and then believe in yourself. It's not a problem that you're starting small, but it becomes a problem when you remain small. So don't let anybody um, make you feel terrible because you're small as a business, or don't stay small. That's what I will end with. You can start small, but please don't stay small. Keep telling yourself, what is the next level? What bigger things can I do? Don't be just be satisfied with that I can take care of my family. That's subsistence level. See yourself at the level of solving problems for a whole country or a whole region and getting paid for it. And that should be the mindset of everyone who is running a business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Ma. Please, if you have questions for our panelists, you could raise up your hand so that you'll be allowed to unmute and ask the questions. While we're still waiting for people to think about their questions, I want to say a very, very big thank you once again to our sponsors for our masterclass. Now that we have set the tone with you understanding the mindset required, understanding that there are challenges, not problems, we can now delve into these challenges. We have 10 key areas we want to go into. We want to look at access to finance. We want to look at forex FX rates. We want to look at oscillating monetary policies. We're also looking at affector, the readiness for affector. We're also looking into technology. We're also looking into mineral and natural resources, how to harness them. Looking at other mineral resources that we have in other areas, or other areas more than the common ones we know. We're also looking at we're looking at 10 key challenges, right? We're also looking at how to ensure, finally, we're also going to wrap with seeing how you can make, as you assess this challenge, how you can turn it into a business opportunity. So it's a year-long curriculum that would say be a part of, right? And like we said, we are taking it into stakeholder engagement. So we're going to be having discussions around it so that you'll be free to share your opinion, share your mind. We are dealing with lots of people that are vast in their experience, and please mute your mic. A lot of people that are experienced in their field so that you'll be able to engage with them and understand how they see this thing. I'm telling you, these are people that deal with lots of stakeholders, right, in meetings. So they have access to some of these things that you are not aware of. So it will also help you in creating the business opportunity for that challenge, right? While we're still out, do we have questions? I believe that they simplified everything. So I believe that's why nobody's asking any question. They simplified everything. But I would also say this, that if you are still looking to develop the right mindset for you, we have two resources I recommend at the Association of African Startups. We have the Mindset Makeover, where we talk about, amongst other things, but majorly how to recondition your mind and how to think of sustainable change. We also have a course on developing the entrepreneurial mindset. We know most people just dabble into entrepreneurship without seriously understanding what it connotes. We all start with subsistence, like Mr. Shea has said, that we are just looking for how to feed our families, and we enter there and we see that it's another thing. So we are going to teach you how to be a visionary, teaching you how to understand profitability, teaching you so many things. So these are on our institute, and would advise that you take part of it and then grow your entrepreneurial DNA. So please, do we have any questions on building a bold and resilient mindset? I believe that this replay would be available for everybody to always look at and go back to it. But at the same time, if we've not learned anything, we've learned two major things today. Number one, don't look at anything as a problem. Look at it as a challenge so that you have a positive mindset towards it. Number two, always look on how to collaborate, right? Have a collaborative mindset to sort problems, right? I need to change. I need to change my own dictionary. Sorry, challenges, please. Challenges, forgive me. Do we have questions? I would like to release them if we do not have questions. Is there anything anybody would like to say? I don't know whether our president is still on the call, if she would like to say anything. And if not, we would call it the day till we meet next month, where we'll be discussing assessing finance across the 5 regions in Africa. We'll be discussing it like this. So with this, we will say a very, very, very big thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you so much for partnering with us to do this. God bless you. We learned a lot from your insights, and this is one class that I personally would have to keep going over and over and over again. Thank you so much, Mr. Seye Olurotimi, and thank you so much, Mrs. Yumna Tayob. God bless you and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Thank you so much, everyone. And with that, we'll come to the end of our very first class on the mindset. Next month, we're going to be discussing assessing challenges across the 5 regions, and we want you to be a part of it. Thank you so much for being part of it, and we'll see you next month. Have a great day. Thank you.